Um, Welcome for the session. Thank you for joining. Today, I think we'll start those who are joining after a few months. Our first 10 minutes will be a silence just to get ourselves recentered. If you have forgotten, what we do here is just sit in silence. Whatever thoughts are coming, let them come. Don't engage. Don't try to analyze. Don't try to connect or try to figure things out. So try and just sit in silence and they're coming, let them come, they'll go. So let them come and pass by. I'll set the timer and then give it a minute. Come out of it. How's everybody feeling?
Yes.
Okay, so today I think we wanted to I sent out the topic for discussion. I think we want to discuss today um, people who actually have missed the last few sessions. We had discussed about the three-part introduction about the teachings. Just wanted to give everybody some good news that the manuscript is now complete. Uh, Content is now finished. Shall be now looking at getting the book out, publisher to having discussions about publish and distribute. So good thing that has happened over the last 4 months, aware or not aware, is that basically the manuscript on three four is the central four things is now completed. One of the things that we discussed during the last session, and if you guys had a chance to get the video that I had shared, discussed about the first great understanding was non-duality. And today I think we'll touch upon the first practice, the teachings, is on self-inquiry. So self-inquiry is about asking the question, who am I? Now, this is a very simple question. While it's simple, it also is extremely profound because this question has the capacity to basically dissect every aspect of individual's life, personality of its character, eventually including the existence of individuality or the separate. It's an extremely powerful question, and not sure how many of us actually ask this question ourselves daily basis, hourly basis, minute basis, on every thought basis, because we tend to assume, basically take it for granted we are. And that identification or taking this thing for granted is where basically all the confusion, the chaos, pain, the suffering, stress, the anxiety, um, all the rigmaroles, the coaster of life basically take over. So the biggest proponent this practice for Maharishi is my one of my guides on this journey. And when you ask, um, who am I? What is, let me open it up. Who am I? What does who am I actually mean to any one of you? Do you ask this question on a daily basis? Do you even question your very existence? Question who you truly are? Anybody? Any of us?
Yes, Sri Ashish. Once in a while, I remember that question and ask myself, who am I? But most of the time, I don't remember that state.
So wait. So this is very important um, question because it tends to, when you begin to contemplate and deeply begin to contemplate who you are, right? Um, the question has this tendency begin to see and dissect your individuality, right? And the idea of this practice is eventually to get to a point where um, even the questioner um, needs to dissolve, right? So the analogy um, that has been used to define this or to explain this is, in Hindu culture, when somebody dies, we cremate, right? So you create a wooden fire and you use a wooden stick, um, light up the fire, and then once the fire is lit, what do you do with that stick that you had used? You basically throw it into the fire so that that stick itself basically dissolves, gets burnt. So this question is meant to do that. It's meant to take you deep within to start dissecting this notion of individual self, individuality, and then eventually coming to a point where even the questioner that is asking the question needs to dissolve. Now, if you remember from our last session, we talked about non-dualism, right? We talked about the one, and the debate has always been for ancient times, time between non-dualism and dualism is what is the starting point of this one that we talk about, whether it's God, X, Y, and Z. There is no debate or question about existence. There's no debate that there is existence. The debate has always been what is the nature of that existence, and non-dualism um, basically says that our original state of being is silent and still. So if our original state of being is silent and still, and that state of being never changes, it's permanent. It pervades everything because in non-dualism there is only one, there is no two. So if that original state of being is silent, then who is it that is actually asking the question, who am I? Right? And if there is only one that seems to have become conscious of itself, which is what I am is, before it identifies its own dream, which creates diversity or separation or the notion or the sense of an individual being, right? Which is then comes to I am Ashish or I am Anil or I am Akash or Akhilesh. Then if there is only one, then who's asking this question, right? So that means that the appearance of the consciousness itself becomes a question mark. And this consciousness is asking this question to itself, who am I? So that it can then go back and figure out that entire creation seems to just be a dream drama. And then even itself um, has just appeared. So, because the original state of being is silent and still. So this question of who am I actually tends to allow you the process of basically unveiling or dissolving or um, building, you know, setting the truth or centering you in the truth. That way, the knowledge, the false knowledge, or what we call ignorance of, um, uh, you know, the creation of the sense of individuality can be removed, and eventually the sense of um, fairness also then kind of dissolves. It's a very, while the question is very easy, um, as it seems at the surface, but it is not very easy to understand and then practice. And the reason for that is uh, the very thing that has taken over, or the identification or the conditioning is so strong that um, it requires a tremendous amount of effort, especially during the daily lives that are being lived, uh, to continuously recentering yourself back to this question of who am I. So the practice that um, we teach is that this must be at one point um, raised with every question, sorry, with every thought, um, with every emotion, with every action. This question must be asked as, hey, who is this thought appearing to? Who am I? Um, you know, uh, because if the thought is appearing to me, then who am I? Because my original state of being and my awareness is supposed to be still and silent, and hence, um, where is this thought coming from? Who is actually identifying with this thought? Um, what does this emotion mean? Where is it coming from? And this continuous questioning of the process of identification um, basically allows eventually um, for you to start negating um, slowly, your attachments, your emotions, your the thoughts that are appearing, um, which then allows you to start abiding in further in this practice. And that is what the second practice we talk about is in the threefold path is the meditative obedience in this understanding, in this remembrance, in the remembrance of I am, which is the starting point, which is pure conscious awareness, just the awareness before the conditioning or the attachment to form and name starts happening. So as we continue to keep going back in that, then that allows us to sit in silence even more stronger, because as you are um, remembering more and more, um, you're centering yourself more and more, which means that now your practice of silence becomes and more deeper. And then as the silence and the remembrance becomes stronger, you become non-attached. Uh, so that process then kicks in. So you start becoming non-attached to uh, what is unreal and what only seems to be a notion or a sense, but is not there in reality. The non-attachment then kicks in. And as more and more non-attachment kicks in, um, you begin to surrender, because surrender is nothing but eventually non-attachment, unconditional non-attachment to everything. So as surrender kicks in, um, you know, that becomes the culmination of the practices of the threefold path. So the starting point is very important with this question, who am I? Um, from the understanding of reality and who you truly are, which is the first step in right understanding. Um, then once you've got that and you've started to truly understand that, you start then the practice of who am I, which is the starting point of the second part of the threefold path, which is right practice. So I'll hold off here and see if that's this thing has sunk in a little bit, and then ask questions. Does this make sense?
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Okay. Anil, have you been practicing? Who am I?
I started to practice who am I when we started this, or when I understood this non dualism almost like 2.5, 3 years ago. But I have not been very successful with this question. And part of the reason has been that I have not been persistently asking this question, when events happen, situations happen, or when I'm in meditation, right? What I think have tried to kind of understood this logically also, which may not be the best way, but I think I have very much settled that I am not my body and I'm not my mind. That is very clear to me, crystal clear. And the way I thought about this is that if I say this is my laptop, this is my room, this is my desk, implied in that is that me and the desk are separate, right? Me and my laptop are different. Similarly, when I say this is my body, that means body and I cannot be the same. So I is not body, not is not mind, and these are my thoughts. So those are not mine either. That leads me to the question of who am I then? Right? That has helped me. Um, so conceptually, I know I'm not any of this. Then who am I? And that certainly has helped me go deeper into understanding this question, and then this whole idea of neti neti. If I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this. So you're none of these. So then the only solution that remains is that, which is kind of knowing from the, it can be just the awareness and nothing else, pure awareness. So who am I? The answer through this logical sequence of events or thinking is that it cannot be anything but just the awareness that I exist. So that's kind of my experience. But I think what you said today, I think makes more sense to me, and perhaps I will practice more. With any event, good or bad, with any thought, if we continuously ask persistently, who am I think there may be in a jump can happen where you are getting who you really are, who truly you are.
Good. Okay. And I want you to add one more aspect, Anil, to your practice. And I think this will help you further. Is when you ask the question, who am I, right? And I think you've intellectually done a good job in dissecting. And that's a good starting point because you have to start intellectually with this understanding before it becomes an experience, right? So the instrument or the tool that has been provided um, by consciousness to itself um, to head back to itself is intellect, um, which is what we call buddhi, right? So that's a very good because it is an intellectual exercise. Initially, it becomes starts with an intellectual exercise, And then eventually, as you practice more and more, it becomes a lived experience. So, um, add one more part to this, that when a thought or an emotion or any circumstances arises, when you ask the question, who is this, thought or experience or emotion or circumstances coming to, you will guess the question, it's coming to me, right? And then you ask the question, okay, but who is this me? And as you negate through the different things that you've just mentioned, you can't find this I. But at that point, say I am. So what that will do is, the more you say I am rather than saying Anil, I am Anil, or I am, so and so, what that will do is you will find that it will start bringing you more and more automatically at the back of your mind subconsciously into meditative obedience of I am. And that allows you, the more you remain in that obedience, the more you stabilize in I am rather than, I am so and so. You will find that um, as time goes by, it will, the mind that you're using to train our consciousness here will basically begin to self train itself back to the so it will become an automatic process. At the moment that something happens, you will automatically refer back to, hey, who am I? Remember who am I? And automatic the answer will also come, I am. I'm nothing else but pure consciousness. And that will then allow you to become recentered more and more, which you will then experience. The more centered you get, you will then start experiencing this centeredness or this peaceful centeredness when you sit in silence. So you'll start seeing that as this practice is happening more and more, you will start seeing that when you're sitting in silence, even those 20 minutes that you tell me in the morning, you'll start feeling that the silence is suddenly deepened. That the center of I am at the time of sitting in silence seems to have taken over something more than what you were actually doing previously. And that begins to deepen. So, what happens is, as that begins to deepen, you start finding a center that you have never known. And you start to tend to become more and more you want to sit in the silence, which then begins to start creeping into your daily lives, which is what you had asked the question on WhatsApp a couple of days ago, that why does calmness happen only in meditative or silent state and not during the day? Is because you have forgotten that your original state of being is silent, which if you can bring through your remembrance and to the practice in your daily life, you will find that it will continue throughout your life or throughout your day. And as that becomes more and more deeper, your non-attachment starts kicking in further. And the more non-attachment starts kicking in, you'll start seeing that you'll start surrendering to the flow of life, the natural flow of life. And this is what the practices in the threefold path, even though they feel that they're linear and they're independent of each other, they're actually all, they're all complementary and they all combine. It's actually a very structured process of happening. Yes, Akash.
Yeah, but why do you want to ask that question? What's wrong with the way we are living right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, if you can live your life in complete surrender, And if today you feel that your life is absolutely fine without any, you can work with the flow of life, then wonderful, no problem. You don't need to ask the question. What
You
happens
know,
is, but what happens is that you tend to then, still fluctuate through the roller coaster of life. Now, if you can remain balanced throughout your life and remain peaceful within, sure, because at the end of the day, remember, the whole process of doing this is to remember your original state of being. You're already pure, you're already silent, you're already still. This whole process is for you to remember your original state of being. So you really don't need to renounce, but that understanding does not come easy because you then get entangled into the day to day lives, right? Why do you get angry? If you are content and you understand that you are um, already pure being and so is everybody else, and everybody is just playing a role, then why do you, um, get angry in situations where you believe that injustice is being done, or somebody is not right, or somebody is doing the wrong thing? Why does that happen? If you have this understanding that everything is just the way it is supposed to be, then why get entangled in those emotions? So you're correct. You are correct in your. But how many people can actually unconditional surrender to life itself, just the way things are, just the way they're supposed to be?
I would
Sorry,
like to offer my comments after Anil.
Anil,
yeah,
go ahead. You were saying something.
yeah. I think you already have asked that question. So, Akash, do you get upset? And answer these honestly. Three questions I will ask you. That will give you the answer. Do you get upset? Do you get sad or unhappy at times? And do you get happy and peaceful at other times?
The question is, are there emotions in me? Yeah, there are. Why not?
Yes. Yes. So if these are there, that means you are fluctuating, as Sri Ashish was saying, with the emotion. The
Yeah,
beauty
but
of
again,
this, yeah. So the
yeah, but the
beauty
question
of
is,
this
what's
is
wrong
that
with that?
no, yeah, no, this, yeah. If you are happy with that, I am not good with that. I do not want to get upset. I do not want to be in depression and anxiety and fear. I don't like that at all. I want to be in a
This,
permanent state of happiness where there is a profound joy within,
oh,
regardless of the circumstances that are happening outside. My goal
yeah,
is that.
no, I think again, I believe the whole concept of asking the question of who am I and relating it to happiness, I don't think it is correct, right? And Ashish can correct me here if I'm wrong. The whole point is to be emotionless. That's the whole point, right? There should be no attachment. There is no happiness. There is no sadness. There is nothing in life because you are unattached yourself with everything. So you don't get
Being
sad. You don't get happy. Nothing excites you. Uh, that's the whole point, right? Like think about it, right? I love exploring food. uh, that's a kind of an emotion. Emotion is not only being sad or being happy or doing, you know,
I
or,
have
or, or getting
comments
angry
on
on
that,
somebody.
Akash.
So
no, no. I will just
Anil,
say
I would
one
like to
sentence,
offer my
Akash.
comments on that.
Just one sentence. I will say no. My purpose, my goal is not to be emotionless. My purpose is to remain blissful all the time, in a positive, blissful state all the time. Because Srinivas has actually given a good definition. Happiness
But is
is
that the purpose
contingent
of
upon
who am
events.
I?
Blissful. So I don't care who am I, what is the question of that. My purpose of doing all this is to remain blissful all the time, regardless of the circumstances and events that happen in this life. Srinivas.
So hold on,
Yes.
Shiva. Hold on, Shiva. So Akash, so you asked what is the purpose of asking the question, who am I? Right? Good question. Because the purpose of asking the question, who am I, is to come to the realization that there is no purpose in the first place. Now, what I'm saying that is let it sink in. So the realization is what life is all about. So again, I'm going to repeat it. The purpose of unconditional surrender, or who am I, or the way you are living your life, whether it is with emotions, without emotions, is ultimately to come to a realization and understanding that there is no purpose. Now, the whole point of the game of life, or this dream drama, as we call it, that you're enjoying or not enjoying, is to have that realization. Till that realization does not sink in and you don't experience it, it has to be experienced. Today, the reason why Anil is saying something and you're saying something, right? You both may have different purposes. But remember, both of your starting point is the same. You both have yet not experienced your original state of being because you're entangled in the outward, circumstances that you're enjoying. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with you to enjoy every moment of your life, which is what it's meant to be. What my entire teaching is to enjoy every moment of your life without being attached or entangled in it. So, what this brings in is that every moment at that moment becomes fully enjoyable, whatever it may be, because you are not identified or attached with that moment. You don't start classifying that moment as this or that. You let it be whatever it is. If today you want to go and enjoy a lovely meal, then go enjoy a lovely meal. But it is meant for you to just enjoy that lovely meal. Whether it was tasty, not tasty, what happened with it, doesn't matter. So when people say live your life in full presence, that's what it means. That means that you're only enjoying that moment of your life in its fullest. And what that does then, because there is no attachment, your centering within you allows you to be extremely peaceful. And bliss is nothing. Bliss is nothing but undisturbed peace. Your peace within does not change with any outward circumstances or emotions that you're having. And that is your original state of being. All you're doing is remembering and being centered back in that. And this whole process of whether it is devotion, whether it is bhakti, whether it is who am I, whether it is surrendering, whether it is meditative obedience, whether it's I am, is only to come to that realization that you already are who you're trying or seeking to become. Once you experience and become centered in that permanently, the bliss that Anil wants to experience is already there. You just have to negate everything else. It's not something that you're going to find outside or something new is going to be created. That's who you are. You just forgotten about it because you become entangled and identified with outward circumstances. So this whole thing is a process of remaining unidentified while appearing to be identified. That's it. But you can enjoy your life if today you are content and you are happy. Absolutely. You don't need to do anything. You anyways don't need to do anything. But that doesn't kick in because you tend to forget. Does that answer your question? Does that clarify something?
Yeah, I'm I can go further, but I think we should let Srinivas complete his
Okay.
thoughts first.
All right. Srinivas, go ahead.
Um, yeah, it's for myself I'm telling, and not just for Akash or anyone. As I try to understand the same question, I found that when my mother and father contributed the egg and sperm, a body developed. As my mom ate the food, it grew up. And when the body came out, my brother assumed a self. And as he grew up, he has I and his own emotions and happiness, pleasure, all that. The same way, another egg and sperm created a different body. Um, I started feeling myself in that body, and I observed that it happened with Anil and Sri Ashish also. Then I found that, oh, there is this body in which a self is appearing, and my mom and dad didn't give birth to me again and again. A different person is assuming the self, though the same and same mother and father are there. And again, as the experiences are happening to the body, its mind is forming. My brother is not acting and doing and feeling the things the same way as I am acting, feeling, or doing the things. So, body and mind are different to different experiences and body and all that. And in this, what I found is body and mind are not permanent because I see the death. Things are concluding, body dissolves and becomes part of the soil. Mind, the rational mind is going away. There is no person sitting in front of me reasoning. And then I found that, oh, why I am suffering? Now found, when I question myself, why am I suffering? I found that I'm ignorant that things are not permanent. Means I'm not remembering things are not permanent, and I'm getting angry because I'm not able to gain control on impermanent life. Means I'm not able to hold on to my mind and body. They are dissolving, which I'm noticing, and it is going away. Body and mind are, I'm not able to hold them. And my jealous and greed for new experiences. Oh, what's wrong in having this fun? Or what? Why not to have the experiences? Is another thing which keeps me going for experiences. In all this, the suffering is coming because we can't hold on to our body and mind. We are angry that we are not able to hold on to our body and mind, and we question. And when Akash asked the specific question, what's wrong with the way of life? We are not going to a snake and getting bitten by it. We fear because we know that it hurts the body, which offers the experience to us. We can intentionally we are not going and getting bitten, but inevitably we have to lose our body and mind. In case if we get cancer or if we get Alzheimer's, it's a painful thing, delusions and all that. It's not easy to say, oh, what's wrong in having cancer, or what's wrong in um, going crazy and deluded. So point I'm trying to say is, with all this mindfulness, what we are trying to gain is how to remember the impermanence, and how to handle the suffering with the minimal uh, giving into it, and awareness that it's going to end. Because most of the time people do not know that suffering will end. We give into the suffering. But if you remember that, oh, this suffering will end because there is an ending, then it gives some peace. It's not that easy to say that, oh, there is no suffering. It's okay if I suffer, kind of thing. Because when we are in the middle of that, it's different. That's all, Guru. And also, one more thing I noticed is we have 5 snakes, or I don't know how many snakes in our body, to whom we feed. We are slave to these senses. We feed our tongue all the time with good music. So that our self, which is the awareness, is bound and caught up and became a slave to these senses. So as we are awake, we search for the things to feed these senses to make them happy. As you recognize that, oh, I am a slave to these senses, you will suffer less, and your search for to feed these snakes will be at moderation, and this anxiety of finding new experiences to make your senses happy, you will gain control on that, and you start becoming, I don't know if it is happy, peace, these are languages, but in the end, you can be with yourselves, because all our suffering is we can't be with ourselves most of the time, because either TV catches us, or eating catches us, or something catches us. Because all this mindfulness again offers us time to be with ourselves, recognize, as Guruji is saying, who you are, rather than being a slave to all these thoughts and senses. That's all, Guruji.
Good.
Okay,
Akash?
let me answer that. If I can be a bit short here. So this all. So are we, like, the first thing is who am I? But are we in search of peace? Are we in search of peace? Are we in search of happiness? What are we in search of? That's one point, right? You don't have to go extreme, and think so much negative in terms of, let me go and get bitten by a snake, right? You're driving a car, as simple as that. uh, you can get in an accident and can die. There are a lot of accidents happening every day. People die, in car accidents. Are you going to stop driving a car? Um, People do skydiving. People do, scuba divings. Everybody knows what's the risk in that. Are you going to stop that doing that? It's just fun of living, right? Emotions is something built into a person, right? Emotion brings you happiness. Emotion brings you peace. Emotion brings you, sadness. Emotion brings, anger in you. What's wrong with emotion? And again, you start thinking a lot of, negativity into your life, and that's when you tend to see, oh, I'm but like everything is happening in the world is wrong. There is cancer in the world, there is Alzheimer's in the world. Oh, I'm going to die. What do I do? Should I stop living? Should I go and quickly find who am I? Where is my peace? Where is my happiness? You don't have to do that. Just live your life. Just stop thinking negatively. You don't have to complicate your life. uh, that's my thought. Again, I can go on and on, but I want to be crisp. I think we are on the top of the hour, but yeah, that's my thought.
Anil? Srinivas? Any?
Yeah, I mean, I understand what Akash is saying, but what Akash is saying is a temporary thing, is my observation, because things change, and that change doesn't let one to sit at the same place all the time. Maybe Akash, see, before 30 years of age, no one thinks that they are going to die, is what I read somewhere. No one knows that they are going to die before 30 years of age. After that, things set. So should one think before 30 years that they are going to die or not? I do not know. But if you are at a place where you are dealing with why to become aware of things, why to learn science, or why to become ready for a job, or why we are becoming ready for things, Akash? I do not know why to learn anything in the first place, as per your logic. Just we can sit after taking the bath, we are not sitting in our mom's and dad's place, or I don't know, as things are happening, we are not going with the flow of the life. We are trying to gain control by going to the school, by learning how to drive and recognize the signs. The traffic signs. We care. We drive carefully so that we don't get hit by some other driver. We are careful, as far as I know. And this is all the problem of gaining control on the things. But if you feel that you are in control of the things at this point in time, the nature of existence means from the birth, you are in a place where you try to gain control on those things, but such a thing is not the nature of the life. Means life you is a flow of experiences, and you cannot hold on to the flow of experiences. Is the wisdom in this. So the difference between wisdom, knowledge, intelligence, and all that is, in wisdom you recognize this I am thing, and you won't be a slave for someone. What is wrong being in the White House and being an assistant to Trump? If one asks, you said why to think too much also. I understand what you are saying, but everything is not the same, right? So people are trying, or so Trump is trying to become became a president. Some people, when they walk in the downtown, they want to buy the biggest building in the downtown. But I never thought of buying a building, because such a thing is not possible. Even for me to think owning a big apartment in the city, thought never came, because it is not achievable for me. All this liberating the self. Do you need it? I do not know, Akash. But there are people who wants to recognize their self, why there is suffering in this world, why things decline and reach an ending, why there is death kind of thing. People such, everyone is not the same. I agree with what you are saying, that why not the way things are going. But for me, when things are going very well, I enjoy it. But when things are not going my way, I'm suffering. And that curve I want to handle. For example, in the stock market, when correction happens, governments pump money so that system doesn't crash, so that people get employed. Why to think that means, unless it was that civilization fails and people die, right? So at what level you are, how your life is flowing, and what is that you want. If you are eating is giving you pleasure, you are at that level. For example, I'm not, please kindly recognize that I do not see any difference between you, me, Guruji, because we are all the awareness, as Guruji said. So kindly don't take offense in anything. uh, so there is no difference between a snake's life and my life also. I saw a snake going to a place where it was born and giving birth in a hurricane. I felt that, oh man, this ignorance, awareness, she is trying to bring more other life into this world in this difficult weather situation. I was feeling, see, animals cannot control urge to have sex, and they bring new life where other like lions go and eat them. uh, yeah, that's all, Akash. I know that I took again longer, but I am saying you are at a place where you are, where things seem reasonable to you, which is very fair. But that's how it shows up to you. But that's not how the world is. Like Ukraine, if you take, when you are standing in front of in that front line, it will be a different experience. When we don't have such a need or experience standing in there, shouldn't we think of and reason on that? I don't know. That's how humanity functions, right?
Can I just say 1 second? Just Akash, if you're happy with being upset and being anxious and being sad, then that's perfectly fine, as Sri Ashish was saying. I am not. And there are methods and processes to overcome that. And that's the strive that I have. I'm not interested in going on horse carriages when I have cars available, when I have planes available.
Akash, you have something to say?
You want me to answer, or you want to take it in the next session?
I think we'll take it in the next session because I think we've
Yeah,
spent a
but
lot of time on this because what happens in a debate, you can have both points, right?
exactly,
Debate is always, and what
exactly.
happens, Akash, is intellectual debate and questioning. We can, the nature
Yep,
of the mind is to keep questioning, right?
yep.
Um,
Yeah,
and
I'll
right,
not
so
answer.
yeah,
I'll
so we
just
can
say
have
one thing.
yeah,
I'm
so
not going to answer, but I'm just going to say that I'm not in search of happiness. That's my bottom line.
right,
But thank you so much.
yeah. So I think what happens is here till you don't experience it, right? We can have intellectual debate on both sides. One can say, why should I do this? The other can say, do it, do it for so and so reason. But the important part is when you are able to center yourself and experience something which is beyond imagination, beyond what the logical mind can actually fathom. That experience then allows you to break through, um, the true meaning of life, the true purpose of life, um, and basically centers in you in true knowing, right? So till then, these debates have been happening not today, but these debates have been happening from time immemorial, right, from the beginning. So, and that just is that's how creation sustained itself. Because if these debates don't happen, and everybody has come to a realization, then creation does not go on, and cycle of creation is also perpetual. So, uh, but good, very good. I think today was. Anybody else besides Akash, Srinivas, and Anil? There are other members as well today. Any insights, any confusion, any clarity that you guys, any doubts or any comments? Pete, Bob?
Pranam Sri Ashish, pranam to everyone. Now this is a satsang. I enjoy the conversation and listening to other people's experience. It is always a pleasure to know that at least for a half an hour to an hour, we contemplate on something that we do not think of it during our regular lifestyle. So it is important. We all strive for happiness. What Akash says is very well justified because we are normal human beings. We have emotions. However, this practice, what Anil said, is so profound that if we do practice, at least we know how to react to situations. So we don't make it worse. When things does happen to our life, depression is not a good thing to go through. And we'll propagate that to others as well. So our experience or our feelings does propagate to others. If we have good feeling inside, the people will associate, will feel it. And it's such a profound thing to do. And if we practice it in a daily basis, there is nothing like it. I do enjoy this session, though I don't get a chance to come in all the meetings, but these insights are very useful. Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Lovely, lovely, Bob. Pete, I know you've just come back from a long trip from India.
Yes, yes, it was.
Bob, you and I know Pete as well has, right? Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting. This is great.
Pete, you there? Yes. Pete, if you're trying to talk, you're on mute.
Yeah, on mute. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. There are a lot of things to digest and great ideas. And I'm just right now focusing on the all the thoughts I can digest and bring it to the existing life. The life, the consciousness, and the superior knowledge, which are applicable only during this life. If I can use that one, modify it, customize it to the existing life, we can definitely enjoy the happiness. So limited way, but most customized way. That could be my focus, and which I would like to learn more from you and Anil and Srinivas and Akash in few more weeks. Attending to this kind of program might enlighten me. That's what I have to say at this moment. Definitely, there are a lot of things to digest. Thank you.
Good. Rachel, how have you been? Annie, do you have any question? I guess, Rachel, you're on mute if you're there.
I'm here. I don't have any questions.
Okay. But
But
were you able to grasp the practice of who am I?
yeah, I um I think in times where I have asked that question to myself, I have also at times come to a form of that conclusion. In other words, but I think it's what everybody has been saying is, um, practicing it, remaining in that state of mind, um, is key. So, yeah, I think this has been a very good second satsang session for me. So, thank you.
Good. So do we want to discuss anything else on this, or do you want to stop here? We're almost coming to our end of time. We have about 5 to 7 minutes. Um, but I think from today's session, Anil, I think you should practice how you're progressing, which is good. I'm happy to actually hear that you've come a long way, so that's good. Um, um, the couple of things that you can add, try that. And again, don't. I always tell people, don't believe me at face value. Like the only way for validation of something is two things, right? The starting point, any scientific experiment is, first you start from a belief, or you hear it, or you see it, or somebody else has, talked about it, or it's in a journal that you read, a scientific journal. But the biggest validation for you is to do it. Try it. See what effect it has. What do you experience with it, right? Note down, and if it betters your life, if it uh, helps you in any way, even if it's a little, then you're better off today than you were the moment before that, or you're better today than you were yesterday. So and then you continue to do that if it is helping you, but don't have to take my word for it. The only way I did it through my thing was that when I heard something or I read something, I practiced it. I tried it out, um, and I saw what worked for me, what did not work. Some things people were saying that this, is going to be wonderful, and it wasn't. So I stopped, and then other things really worked well. But so the only way to come out of from intellectual knowing to truly knowing is you have to practice. You have to try it out and see. Give it a shot. Give it a week. Give it 10 days. Means if tomorrow there's a new weight loss thing or anything new that comes out, you try it. That's the only way you find out what it is. So same way, I don't expect you in any shape or form or kind to believe a word that I'm saying. I'm just asking you, hey, if there are questions, or there are, doubts, or there are struggles, or there are stresses, or, suffering, or even during happiness. If there's an emotional roller coaster and try something, if that helps you center, then why not? And I think, as Bob said, that's very good that um, what you feel and experience and presence that you have then percolates to your surroundings. And I always tell people the change has to be within you. Don't try to change the world because that's not in your control. Um, but if you try and change and try and find and seek that change within, then automatically you'll see that the world around you starts changing on itself. So I think I'll leave it there unless anybody else has any questions for me or anything that I can answer.